Good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Uncorporate World. Alexis and I are sitting down today with Kadeem Leslie to learn a little bit more about his background, and he is the creator of The Full Author. And more excitingly, he's coming to us today from South Africa. So we are so honored that he was able to take the time to join us. So welcome, Kadeem, and maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. No, well, thank you for having me. First of all, I just want to express that from the get-go. It's great to be here. And I am Kadeem Leslie. I am a global entrepreneur, global speaker. I love talking with people all over the world about financial freedom, financial independence, and also my first book, which was meant to help students get and manage their time and get straight A's in the least amount of time possible. So then that's what's here. And then we have this here. Both have done very well. But besides these things, full time, I'm a traveler, I'm a brother, I'm a friend. And so, these things make life wonderful. And so I help people to live a full life, as you can see, with, just maximizing the amount of time, maximizing the amount of times that they can get out of their comfort zone, overcome their fears, and try to maximize as many areas of their life as possible. That's who I am.
Wow, very inspiring. I was wondering what inspired you to start writing these books and maybe like what gap you were seeing in the industry.
Of course. Well, so Full Student actually was born out of me helping students.
Mhm.
Well, actually, let's take it back before that. I wanted to be one of those entrepreneurs who, typically entrepreneurs, they want to grow their business and then maybe school falls to the wayside, right? Maybe a D here and there or a C, maybe a B if you're lucky, right? That's what
Mhm.
entrepreneurs are known for, right? They're failing students. Cool. I didn't want that. I wanted to be a straight A student because I was actually failing in high school. So then I remember moving from 23rd to 21st to 17 to 14 to 11 to 7 to 4 to 3 to 2. And my last semester, I actually just clipped ahead of my friend, actually. I got number one. So then now I was going into college being a top student from my high school.
Wow.
Great. Okay. So that's where it started. And I was starting businesses from then too. Now we got to college, right? New businesses, new people, new place. But I still want to maintain my straight A's. So then I started to perfect what I was doing. First year, totally easy. Second year, I started helping other students to improve their grades. So then I think to myself, if I can help these dozen students as a peer advisor, if I can help the people who are around me, if I can write this, I could potentially help people that I've never met. I could
Mhm.
potentially help thousands of people. So that's why I started to write this book. It was
Wow.
started in 2019, finished in 2021. Took me 2 years to write the book, right? And I wrote it again, very important, while I was running a business, while I was a student, or while I was involved on campus as a student leader. All of
Wow.
this came out of this. And it was endorsed by the government of Jamaica. We went on, it was endorsed by the university as well. We went into the newspaper, we went on the TV, all of that while still getting straight A's. So then the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Yeah, you set a great example.
I hope so.
Yeah, that sounds super inspiring. And I was wondering what made you move from writing The Full Student to writing the book Full Money?
It's actually funny. I
Mhm.
At the time I received some at the time I didn't think it was good advice. I thought, this professor was just being a hater. It's fine. But let me tell you what the advice was. No, it was funny. It's funny now. But at the time, I actually started to write Full. The title for this book was just Full, and it was about money.
Hmm.
But I was a student, and the professor said to me, "It's better that you write a book about being a student
Mhm.
because you have authority to talk about that. Adults are not going to listen to you, even if you have money. I'm a student." So I said, "You know what? I'm going to listen." And so then I wrote Full Student. I wrote everything in Full Student after that. But this is the book I wanted to write.
Wow.
Right? From the beginning.
Yeah.
This is so then, what actually it was about financial freedom. And I discovered financial freedom when I was 15 years old.
Mhm.
Right? My family was going through some tough times. My mom had died. And so then I discovered financial freedom, financially independent, retire early. And so at
Mhm.
15, I decided I wanted to be retired by the time I was 30.
Yeah.
Now
Mm,
think about that.
yeah.
That is an insane goal for a 15-year-old to make.
Yes.
But that's what my focus became. Now, I didn't even have a plan until maybe 4 or 5 years after that.
Mhm.
Right? But I made a decision at 15. And what a decision really means is you're saying no to everything else that's not that. That's what a
Mm,
decision means.
Yeah.
So then I made that at 15. When I started to write this, I really wanted to write this. Soon as I was able to get back to this, I did, which was maybe 2 months after this came out, I was back to writing this. But then this came out in 2021. This was just released this year. So
Oh.
it took me about 6 or 7 years to write this, which is it's such a great book because it's everything that I knew. It's all of the little things. In fact, some of the things I put in here were so good that I didn't want to put them in there because I felt like I was giving away things I could charge people for, right? It's things that you discover like by making phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning to banks and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Like no one is willing to do these things, and it's just by chance that one person accidentally let it slip that hey, this thing works that way. Call that person. You can't find it on Google, right? But I put it in here because I'm only writing one of this. I'm never writing another book about money again. That's it. This is it. It took me 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
That's too much of my life. If I live to 70, the average lifespan, that took me 10% of my life. Right?
yeah.
I'm done. So that's it. But I think the next book that I will write will be about either full travel, because I travel full time, or it
Mhm.
will just be called Full Life. And I think Full Life will come out when I'm 50. So then we have a long way to go before that book comes out.
Mhm. Yeah, this series sounds so amazing. And I like how you turn your real life experiences into these books. You put all of your knowledge into them. And I was
Yes.
wondering, a lot of my friends, they start clubs, they start different organizations in our school. But what motivated you to write books instead of just going for like an easier path? Because it told you said how it took you so long. How did you
Easier.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's funny. I'll let that slide. No, that was good. That was good. Okay, Alexis, I'll tell you, writing a book is very hard.
Yes.
But it's a different type of hard because okay, think about the hardest paper that you have to write right now.
Mhm.
Okay, how many words is that essay?
I would say, well, right now we're working on college essays, so that
Tell
would
me.
be for like 600 words, I think.
Okay,
Is
And
cool.
it?
So this,
yeah.
oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. That's great. So this book, this right here, is 80,000 words.
Wow.
Okay,
Mhm.
very hard.
Yes.
But I think that's great because after you write something like this, you know that you understand something. The best teachers in the world, well, to become a teacher, you have to write a dissertation. That's
Mhm.
how it works, right?
Mm,
Because you have to get your thoughts and you have to write them out very clearly, which is what makes you an expert in your field. But then, and I've done my master's too. This is longer than my master's, right?
Mhm.
So then, just to be clear, writing a book is very difficult. It's mentally draining. But here's what I will say to anyone that's in high school right now. I want you to remember this. I don't want you to maximize 4 years and miss out on 40.
Mhm.
Repeat that. High school and college are still 4 years. So
Mhm.
then becoming the president of the club is great and you should still do it. But understand that the things that you do outside of the classroom that can continue after the graduation date, I would put 80% of my effort into that.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
once you graduate, you are no longer the president. You cannot come back and be an advisor. It doesn't work that way. It's
Mhm.
done,
Yes, for sure.
right? And there are many people, you can think of the trope of, hey, you remember that touchdown I scored in college, that
mm,
touchdown I scored in high school? It's gone. And you don't
Mhm.
want to be one of those adults. But I would encourage you to start thinking about the 40. And you don't have to as I said, when I was 15, I didn't have any idea what
Yeah.
financial freedom would be. But at least Start talking about a plan, start talking about the people, start researching and just gathering information so that the next 40 are a lot more fun than if you hadn't planned at all.
Yes, very true. I was so you started writing books at a very young age then, at 15. I was wondering if you could go back in time, what is something that you would do differently, or what is one of the biggest takeaways that you've learned when writing books?
The biggest takeaway would have started social media a lot sooner,
Mm,
right? And I think that's the main job of a publisher,
mm,
right?
yes.
And the main job of a publisher is to get you distribution and literally pay for you to be on the media. That's what they do. Now, if you can use your own media, then you only need to get distribution. But
Mm,
distribution has been solved by Amazon, right?
Mhm.
yes.
Everybody has Amazon, everybody in America, right? And if they don't, their next door neighbor does, right? And then also it's the same thing with people in Europe and other countries. So it's not just in the USA anymore, right? In the Caribbean, same thing. So if you now have Amazon and a couple million followers on social media, you can have a bestseller tomorrow,
Mm,
which is what happens repeatedly. You'll see people with no writing experience with a big audience. Number one, because the day that release it, all they need is maybe 10,000 people, 5,000 people to buy the book. And if they have a million people, they're going to get that number. It's not very
mm,
hard. So then I would have focused on that first. And then if you think about that from a business perspective, this is what's so
mhm,
interesting. There's two things that really matter in business, which is distribution and the quality of the product. So then I'll take you through Apple, for example. When the iPhone came out, iPhone made it that you could only get it through AT&T. You probably don't even remember this, Alexis, but we do. You could
Yep,
only you could only get the iPhone through AT&T. Now,
that was
why
it.
did Apple do that? That was it.
That was
Verizon didn't
it.
have it. In fact, there was an undermarket where people were paying to get it from AT&T, unlock it so you could use it with Verizon. That was
Mhm.
happening. That was the whole thing, right? But the reason why they did that is because they had a great product, but they didn't have distribution. Even if they launched it, AT&T already has stores all over the United States, and they had to solve distribution. So that if you can solve these two things, again, you'll have just monumental success in whatever you do.
mhm,
So it's the same thing. Social media acts as distribution. And so then from a business perspective, if you can, not just books, but you can say, look at Mr. Beast right now, his Feastables, chocolates, his
yes.
entire audience, boom. So you know it, right? You can
Mhm,
look at Prime, Logan Paul, or Jake, whichever one it is, one of them.
yes, yes.
Right? I think it's Jake Paul, right? The
Yeah.
Prime and KSI, same thing. Over and over and over again, what they're solving is distribution. Now,
Mm,
obviously, with the Prime Energy drink, they also solve distribution with partnering with larger distribution firms like Walmart, etc. However, the point here is social media solves a real business problem
mm,
that perhaps 10 years ago we didn't really analyze it that way. But now, once we start having real money, real centime millionaires and billionaires in the industry space, now it becomes critical to start social media as early as possible because your personal brand becomes a social media presence that is literally monetizable like Kylie Jenner as well.
mhm, yes, I definitely see these, like, figures, like, I'm scrolling on, like, TikTok, and, like you said, I see Mr. Beast and all of these influencers that always, like, sell
Yes.
their products to their audience, and it definitely
Right.
has a big effect on them. But I
Correct.
was wondering, do you think social media has helped or hurt storytelling?
It has changed
Mm,
Mhm.
storytelling. It has changed storytelling. I wouldn't say it has helped or hurt either way because what's interesting about what was that short, that mini, I think it was called Tubi, right?
yes, Tubi.
Tubi came out and it was a platform for 5 minute movies, pretty much, right?
Mhm,
But 5 minute movies are already on TikTok.
mhm,
So people will do this. People will watch an entire half an hour video but it's part 1 through 36. Right? Same video, and they'll watch the entire thing. Oh, that's interesting. Part two. Before you know it, it's part 26. Right? People will do that. But then the only thing is that Tubi just didn't understand that people are not going to move from TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube to go on to Tubi. That's because YouTube is free,
Mhm.
and so is TikTok. So then, fine. Tubi didn't understand it. But think about even podcasts now and radio stations. They've merged. I was just on a radio station last week in South Africa. That
Mhm.
radio station is a podcast format because now we're recording in the studio and that radio episode goes onto Instagram. It has changed completely. So then I think even the word influencer, which you used just now, it has also changed. Because would you call, for example, a doctor an influencer? Don't think so, right? But they are on social media a
Yes.
lot. So then why would they be on social media? Because it 10x is your personal brand, which you just talked about. So
Mhm.
then it's not that it's just influencers on social media anymore. Being your personal brand is literally the most valuable thing that you can do for your name. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily about making you famous, it's just setting you up as an expert in your field or having positioning in the marketplace, which is very, very, very important today.
Mhm. I
And
like to.
I was just going to say, I think too, a lot of people have learned to have that expectation to see you on social media. And I think
Oh,
when somebody's learning about you for the first time, that's where they naturally go to kind of get a feeling for who you are and what you're doing. And if you're not on there, I do think that leads to some doubt in people's minds towards credibility, questioning
oh,
why don't you have that presence. And I think in that way, it does come back and hurt you a little bit for not having some level of presence on there.
I'll tell you this in response to that. That's the reason I'm able, and maybe I shouldn't say this, it's fine. I'll give you to you. I think that's the reason I am able to get onto social media, sorry, to get onto traditional media a lot easier than others might be. Now, if I come to you and you've never heard me before, and I say, hey, I'm from here, I've done this and I've done that. These are my books. Yes, you can see the physical books. I bring them to you. Right, no problem. Here is my name. Write me down. And I said, hey, I'd love to get onto the episode. I'd love to do this. Here's my name. They Google me. First thing that pops up is my Instagram profile. Scroll
Mhm.
through my Instagram profile. You see all of the everything that I just said to you. So it's confirmation. You see the interviews, you see, and now it becomes a list. But then also, if you go back to Google, the entire first 2 pages is my name. Links
Mhm.
that have to do with me. So it's a reinforcing cycle. I've been on this podcast, I've been over there, been on TV, radio, this country, that country. So then that's not created overnight, right? That's literally the point of SEO for a website. But then no, that has become SEO for my name. And then as long as you live, or well, as long as I live, I will have that. It won't disappear. So then now you can think about how that uses with AI. AI is still pulling from all of these sites. But then what I found cool, I did a test the other day, right? Now, at Facebook or Instagram, they have the little magnifying glass where you can look for more information under each post.
Yep.
So then
Yes.
one of my posts, it said Hadim Leslie and his journey to financial freedom. And it had a magnifying glass. And I was like, huh? Does this AI know who I am? So I looked at it. It got one thing wrong. I didn't go to the University of Iowa.
Yeah, AI isn't always right.
But it got me. It
Mhm.
got me. It knew who I was, except for the University of Iowa, and that's amazing. And
Mhm.
that is years of me putting in, you know, appearances here, there, everywhere. So the name appears in multiple places. But then going back to what you were saying, I think fast forward 10 years, if you're an entrepreneur without an audience and you're at the same table as someone with an audience, you might lose.
Mhm. Yes. I also like how you brought up AI, and that was going to be one of the questions I wanted to ask you today.
Sure,
I
sure.
in the in this industry of writing books, how do you think AI has changed? how has AI changed the process of writing books, or maybe in like creating or coming up with ideas?
So I think it's made it easier by far to be a good author.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that, okay, so there's two different industries, right? So fiction, I'm not in fiction. Fiction authors, they have a tough time because to come up with something and more ideas and more creativity than AI can, I would imagine is harder. I've never been a fiction writer, but if you take Harry Potter can be done by AI. You had it, that's insane, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
What can't be done is, for example, the videos that Mr. Beast does and just being outlandish as a human being and the realness of that and the threat, the very real threat of him being in danger, AI can't do that, right? So then for creators like Mr. Beast, so then now we go back to fiction, sorry, non-fiction, people who are at the top of their industries and who have an audience and who have authority behind them, writing becomes super easy for them. Not because they can use AI, but because if you use AI, but you don't have an audience, you can't compete, right?
Hmm. Yes.
So then if you have half the audience of me and everybody assumes everyone is using AI anyway, but I
Mm.
still have a bigger audience, I'm going to win, right?
Mhm.
If I have more proof, not necessarily the bigger audience, but more proof, more engaged audience, etc. Right? So it's not just numbers. However, I think when it comes to as it hurts, I don't think so. Because what it's made it now is about more authenticity. The stories I tell in these books, AI can't make these stories, right?
Yes.
Because they can't know my stories because they're in my mind.
Hmm.
So then telling stories about, mixing your lessons in with your life story, mixing your lessons in with, hey, I was here, almost got robbed, almost died. Telling those type of stories will matter a lot more. I think that makes it far more easy for nonfiction writers with stories.
Yes, for sure. Your real life experiences can't be replaced by AI. And I know
Correct.
that in our previous episodes, we also talk about how like AI and social media is kind of blocking off like human connection and
Mhm.
networking. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts on the importance of really talking face to face with people and building connections, especially for your brand and your business.
So I read recently. This is going to be a good clip. I read recently that I'm sure you know this gentleman called Claviker.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah, yeah, he's going viral. You know why he's going viral? Do you know
I
why he's
know
going viral?
he built his image around like mogging and
Well, yes, but
yes.
that's what he's doing. But do you know why? The machine behind, because there are other people, there are other weird people in the world, right? I think he's weird. He's fine.
Yeah,
But
me
there are other
too.
weird people in the world. Well, and we're all weird, right? But
Hmm.
why is he going viral now? This is what's important, right?
Hmm.
He has an army of clippers, an army of clippers. So then I think he has maybe 400 or 500 clippers that have literally hundreds of channels.
Hmm.
And so then every second of every day, you have his content being produced and clipped and shown. Where if you ever, even if you like one of his videos or you unrecommend that channel, there are maybe 5 dozen other channels that are going to be producing his content. So
Yes.
then what does that mean now? It means now it's a mass game. If
Mm.
you can make it so that you can't see anybody else on social media, you can't go 10 scrolls without seeing another video from him. You have dominated attention. So you must know who he is. And if you know who he is, you're going to talk to somebody else about who he is. As that gets around, guess what? When he goes into that room to get that deal done, perhaps 6 out of the 10 people already know who he is. It's very, very powerful. And
Hmm.
that's leverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
How has network maybe shaped your um, audience, or like how you connect with other individuals then?
So, in a real sense,
Mm,
being live is something that I don't think creators can avoid anymore. People
mhm,
have to see you in person. People have to see that you are a real person, and I think that becomes more valued. And so, if you've never seen me,
mhm,
then the polished content is good, but sometimes people want to see the unpolished version just to feel like a human again.
Mhm.
So you can think of, like, let's say YouTube, right? YouTube, you can think of as your TV show, like your polished soap opera, right? Then Instagram is a reality TV show where, of course, it has polished ads and stuff, but it has a few clips where it's like it's grainy, it's messy. There's a bar fight going on where you catch a clip and stuff, right? That's reality TV. That's what your Instagram is supposed to feel like, right? Your TikTok is behind the scenes. It's you in bed, boom, catch a video, right? That's TikTok. Your Facebook is your bulletin board. This is where you put your announcements. You have long text, long paragraphs. You put on Facebook. You can also put on LinkedIn, right? And then you put on podcast. Podcast is your radio station, right? So then, if you're thinking of these as different parts of your media empire, this becomes a network of people who are tuned in to see you.
mhm,
No, it's maybe you talking in front of the camera. It may be you interviewing other people. It may be you building something where you're not even talking. But then all of this, at some point, you still must go live because people are watching the network, but we have to know that the network is real, which is where live becomes super important today.
Mhm.
yes, yes. Now, one of the last questions I have today is how does um, your skills becoming an author teach or help your life in business?
That's a great question. Oh, how does being an author? Well, okay. I think writing is honestly learning, and writing is the highest activity that any entrepreneur can do. The reason why is if you are writing, you have to constantly be learning new information to write about. So then what that means is if you are trying to find new information, you must look at especially if you're writing about the industry that you're in. You're constantly thinking about new ideas, assimilating new concepts. And so then you bring that to your business, that makes you a better business person, and it raises your ceiling for how high your business can go. That's very important. Now, it makes your mind more clear. You can think of reading and writing as going to the gym for your mind. The fittest you'll ever feel is when you are in the gym 4 or 5 times a week. You'll feel great. You can run down, you can run anywhere. You can, play volleyball tomorrow if you wanted to. You can, just go for a swim. It's great. It's a great feeling being fit. Now, if you step away from the gym after doing that for 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to feel a bit more sluggish. 3 months after that, even more sluggish. And that's what reading is. When you're the best, you're reading and writing constantly. But if you get out of that season, 3 months down the line, you're gonna feel it. So then, even once you're out the gym, they tell you go once a week or twice a week just to maintain the muscle. No, the man isn't a muscle, but just reading, right,
Mhm.
maintaining that level of effectiveness, super important. So I think that is perhaps the highest activity that any entrepreneur can do as they are trying to grow and scale to a next level. Because information is the winning key today. Today, you cannot not learn. Even with AI, you have to know how to use AI better. And better today is a different better from last week. So you got to constantly be learning. Right.
100% agree with that one. I mean, the adaptation of it over the past 2 years has just been amazing, recognizing like where it started at and what it can do now, even. I mean, it's just
Right.
so full force. And I mean, like you said, it's changing almost daily, and there's more and more tools available to people. And I think it's,
All right.
such a high learning curve to figure out which ones do you use, when do you use them, how do you use them, what's the right way to use them. There's just a lot of ethical questions around it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every business owner that I talk to is using AI in some form right now.
Yeah.
And they're using AI agents and they're using AI bots, they're using AI applications, they're building AI applications. They have to be involved with it somehow.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
it's only going to get more entrenched into what we do. And so then it's not a matter of how, just like the internet, It's not a matter of whether or not we're going to use the internet. It's how much and in what way are we going to use it to benefit our lives.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
Alexis, do you have a game that you put together for Kadeem?
Yes, I do have a small game to play.
Give it
It's
to me.
A little signature mark for you.
yes, it's called
Nice.
plot twist game. So
Okay.
I'm going to give you random scenarios and ask how would you turn them into like compelling book title or like a story concept.
Gotcha. Ready.
Okay. So the first one is a student starts $1 million business.
That's the scenario. Okay, got
Just
you.
yes.
Um, they start $1 million business. Okay. In any story, there has to be a kryptonite. There has to be a weakness for Superman for it to be interesting.
Ooh. Mhm.
Superman without kryptonite is pretty boring, right?
True.
So it's not an exciting story if everything goes well.
Yes, yes.
Right. And so you always got to remember if you want to be interesting and you want to have be an inspiration to people, everything can't go well. That's just the rules, right?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
so uh for that student, great book, great title. I'd love to see, okay, they started $1 million business, they're 17. You'd have to say, okay, cool. What's the journey to $100 million from there?
Mm, yes.
Right? And how long is it going to take them? And then that becomes a story that you can say, hey, they're being underrated and you also need an enemy, right? So then, no, they start $1 million business in an industry dominated by people 3 times their age and they don't speak the first language. And you say, okay, now we have a story. Right.
Yes.
So then
Then
you can take it from there.
what would you caption the title of this book then?
Probably $100 million loss.
Ooh,
Mm.
interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, second one is AI becomes every student's homework partner.
Okay. So I'm turning this into a book title.
Yes. Or you can add
Okay.
like more to the story like you did before.
I think it will not only become AI partners for homework. I think we could get to a place where AI is actually, let's say, parents don't come home until 5, kid gets home at 1, AI is doing everything for that kid until the parent come home. We could see
Mhm.
a place where we do that, right?
Yes.
Where it becomes your own personal daycare. You're crazy. Right?
Little nanny,
Right?
yes.
But that could happen. Like food is cooked by the AI and monitored, and then obviously there are cameras all around so you can see your kid from work. But that could happen, right? So
Mhm.
then I think that becomes perhaps AI third parent, you could call it that.
Ooh, very nice.
I like that.
Okay, and then the third scenario is a teacher secretly writes novels at night.
Oh, that's a great title.
Just leave it as it is.
Yes, it's a great title. I think a great plot twist would be, you know, let's say they had a secret identity and perhaps that secret identity got leaked. So then, for example, let's say they're actually a famous writer. Let's say it's J.K. Rowling, she's a
Oh yeah.
professor, and but we don't know what J.K. Rowling looks like. So then
Mhm.
now something leaks. Let's say a student walks into the office and you're like, huh, are you J.K. Rowling? And you're like, no, 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 no. That sounds very interesting. So I think that I stay with the title, but I like the story plot there.
Very creative. Okay, and then the last one is a failed idea becomes someone's greatest success. So this one's a bit vague. You can add your own details in.
Okay. Okay. Person's failure becomes their success. Okay, let's see. So I think we can actually set it in modern day times, right? Let's say Ukrainian was displaced, right?
Mhm.
And that's the biggest. They were a successful person. Like in Ukraine, they were a banco, and they had all their degrees, and now Ukraine is at war, and they left Ukraine, and now they're in Now they're in France, where they ended up. So now they're in France. They've lost everything.
Mhm.
Now he's on his own. His family went to the USA, but he's in France. Doesn't speak any French. Okay, so no, he doesn't speak any French. But turns out, a new podcast is being started where they're actually interviewing people who have gone through similar situations. Turns out they were looking for an English speaker,
Mhm.
and then with his accent, his personality, turns out he gets onto the show as a guest. Turns out they have a connection. 3 months later, they invite him to be a co-host. He becomes a co-host for one of the only English podcasts in France.
Mhm.
That then becomes his resurrection story. For the next summer, he gets to go and visit his family. He starts to get his life back in order just because of this one podcast where he didn't even speak the language of the first guest, right? The
Mhm.
first host, the first episode. So then I think that's a pretty cool story. Then that becomes a blessing for him. Then he tells that story once his podcast on YouTube. Remember, they just started. After that, let's say he joined at 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers. Once they cross 100,000 subscribers, he finally tells the story of how he started. And now that propels them to a whole new level of success and they become a top 10 podcast in the world. That's pretty cool.
I really like that idea, tying in everything that we're doing today.
There you go.
Okay,
I
and then one last closing question is, what is the story you hope people tell about their own lives after listening to this episode?
I hope the story that people tell about their own lives is that you need to stop waiting on permission to do things that you know you can do. This is very important because I love telling
Mhm.
this. I love telling this story. I want you to answer this question, Alexis. Mr. Beast before he became Mr. Beast.
Who was he?
Uh, before he became Mr. Beast.
I have no clue.
Who was I Show Speed before he became I Show Speed?
Mhm.
Who was Steph Curry before he became Steph Curry? Who was Barack Obama? Who was Chadwick Boseman? Who was any of these people before they became those people that we know? They were just somebody in high school. This was your
Yeah.
classmate, the nerdy dude. That one person, the teacher's pet. They were, you know, they
Mhm.
weren't the people that we know them for today. They were just someone. And so then at some point they made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to become Barack Obama. You know, at some point they made a decision, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do this amazing thing.
Mhm.
And that decision is just as easily made by you.
Yeah.
Because before that, they made a decision, they were in the exact same place. But the difference between them and you right now is that they made a decision that you just haven't yet. Some
Mhm.
people wait 20 years to make a decision, which is why you see when people start at 40, you see them achieve massive levels of success. 40, because it took them that long to make one decision, but you could just as easily make a decision this weekend instead of waiting
Yes.
20 more years. You don't have to wait
Mhm.
20 years.
love it. So, Kadeem, thank you so much for your time today. Your books, can they be found on Amazon if people are looking to go out and purchase one, or where's the best place for them to pick up a copy if they're interested?
Of course, it's right here, full money. Is
Yep.
available on Amazon. If you're a student, a full student, I will tell you, if not just for students, people have used this book to get their real estate license, some pretty cool things, pass their doctoring exam, the doctorate exams. It's very cool things. This teaches you how to learn very, very, very effectively. This will teach you about money. They're both available on Amazon. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on social media at I am Cade, Kade underscore. That's I am Cade, Kade underscore. I'm very responsive on Instagram, so you can always find me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We
Yes.
really appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It was very fun.
Thank you so much.